Good Sunday evening, folks. NTV/AMEC Foster Wheeler, meteorologist Eddie Shear here with you with your weather before the weather. Again, no time constraints here, and I can be as in-depth as I want about the forecast because I'm not on TV, which I suppose is both good and bad. I'm recording this as of 10:20 p.m. on Sunday night, so some of you are certainly going to be watching this tonight, and some, more than likely, Monday morning. I'll try and break down the forecast for you as best I can, give you a rough idea as to what we can expect Monday afternoon, Monday night into Tuesday morning, which is when it looks like we are going to see an area of low pressure passing pretty close to, if not directly over the Avalon Peninsula, which will bring some snow to Newfoundland and even some rain as well. Getting a look at what you see here on your screen, this is the start of our area of low pressure, and we can see snow on the north side of it, and rain and even some thunderstorms on the south side of the system. It's a very broad area of low pressure. Nothing too substantial, and as it tracks toward Newfoundland, it really will not become anything substantial either as it passes over the Avalon Peninsula Monday night and departs Tuesday morning, which will end the snow with it from southwest to northeast. Now, ahead of it, temperatures are cold, and we're also seeing some snow squalls across much of the Avalon Peninsula and parts of the west coast, and if I flip on the current advisories here, you will see that we do have snow squall watches in place for the southern Avalon, the southwest Avalon, Burin Peninsula, and the west coast from Grossmorn on down to Port aux Basques. Also, this lighter gray color here, that is an extreme cold warning for the northern peninsula as temperatures and wind chills are going to be into the minus 30s. And we're also seeing some of those extreme cold warnings on the Labrador coast as well, where temperatures are also nearly bitter. Now, ahead of the low, temperatures are cold, so it is cold enough for snow across the entire island right now. Notice it's like minus 12 in Penny Crescent on the Avalon Peninsula in St. John. So temperatures are very cold, but don't pay attention to that. I don't think it's right. St. Lawrence reporting 10 degrees. Not correct. But offshore, we are seeing temperatures a bit milder than that. Off the coast of Nova Scotia, temperatures are between about 1 and 3, and as the slow tracks toward Newfoundland, some of that warm air is going to get drawn up. I should also mention that the ocean temperatures south of the island are between 2 and 4 degrees. So as winds go southwesterly, some of that warmer air is going to get pushed on shore, which will change the snow tomorrow evening over to rain for a period of time for parts of southeastern Newfoundland. The question is, how far north does that rain-snow line make it? Will it make it all the way as far as the northern and northwest Avalon, Clarenville area, Bonavista Vista Peninsula for that matter? I'm not sure. So let's delve into the models, and we'll see what they're saying. This is the GFS model, getting a little ahead of myself there, starting us off at 2:30 p.m. Monday afternoon. What you see here, these are the black lines. These black lines are areas of constant pressure. So the lower the number, that's where the low pressure center is. Notice that circle here? That's our low over the Gaspé Peninsula tomorrow afternoon. So ahead of it, some very light snow and flurries spreads into the island after about lunchtime tomorrow. You can see all the way up in the northern peninsula and onto the Burin and southwest Avalon peninsulas between about noon and 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. And this model forecast is for 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. As we go into 8:30 tomorrow night, the low is closer now, just off the west coast. Still very open, still very broad, still very weak. But it will have precipitation with it. Notice the darker blue showing up along the southwest coast, Burin Peninsula, and the northern part of the Avalon. That is steadier snow. But there's that rain line, the green. You see it encroaching on the Burin Peninsula by tomorrow evening, on the southern Avalon as well by tomorrow evening. So some areas will see the snow changing to rain or mixing with rain fairly quickly as temperatures start slightly below zero and then climb slightly above the freezing point. As we step into Tuesday night now, or Monday night, excuse me, this is as of 2:30 in the morning. We have an area of heavy snow from northeastern Newfoundland to the Bonavista Vista Peninsula, back down to the Canagra Peninsula and along the south coast, by the Burin Peninsula. And this model thinks that much of the Avalon Peninsula will be seeing rain. The reason for that is this. The low is passing over the isthmus of the Avalon, which will bring in some warmer air from southwesterly winds. Now, the question is, where is the low going to pass? Because if the low's any farther south and east, which some models are hinting at, that rain-snow line will remain farther south and east as well. That being said, this will not be a major snowfall for really anybody. 15 centimeters is probably the max anyone's going to see. As we go into the early part of Tuesday morning, the low has now moved northeast of the island, and we are seeing a band of heavier snow working across the Bonavista Vista Peninsula, back down across the Burin Peninsula through Clarenville, and then back on to the Avalon. So it looks like we're going to see a period of snow developing, changing and mixing with and changing to rain for parts of the Burin Peninsula and parts of the Avalon Peninsula, and then ending as snow Tuesday morning. And notice as we step into Tuesday afternoon, the snow has pushed offshore, and we are just left with some lingering flurries and temperatures cooling back down below freezing as the warmer air departs on the backside of the low. Now, this is only one model, and again, it shows the low passing basically right over the Isthmus of the Avalon. This is another model. I'll have to jump back to the beginning here. This is the Canadian RGEM, or Environment Canada's RGEM, or RDPS model. RGEM, or RDPS is what they're calling it now, Regional Deterministic Prediction System. So as we go into tomorrow afternoon, now this is as of 3 o'clock, 11:30 in the morning, we can see some darker blues here showing up along the south coast. That is some lighter to moderate snow spreading in well ahead of the low. As we go into 2:30 in the afternoon now, we can see some heavier snow working into the Burin Peninsula there. Those are the darker blues in the Canaveral Peninsula and into central Newfoundland. Looks like ongoing snow squalls along the west coast. And I'll jump forward a few more frames here, and you can see this is by 8:30 tomorrow night now. There's the mix line, okay? So everybody starts off as a little bit of snow on both models. But the RGEM is showing the mix line a little bit farther south by tomorrow night at 8:30. Stepping into the middle of the night now, or 9:30, 10:30. This is as of 11:30. It looks like the rain-snow line has moved up across much of the Burin Peninsula, but the south coast is still seeing snow, and it looks like much of the Avalon is still seeing snow, except looks like the immediate southern shore. We step ahead 3 more hours now. This is 2:30 in the morning. Burin Peninsula looks like you're definitely seeing rain tomorrow. Southern Avalon, definitely seeing rain tomorrow at some point. But the northern half of the Avalon may remain all snow if the low takes a bit of a more southern track compared to the GFS model, which this is forecasting. So as we step ahead 3 more hours to 5:30 in the morning, there's a mix line just south of the St. John's metro area and extending back across the southeastern Avalon and almost onto the southwest Avalon. But by this time, the colder air is moving back in. Snow is now falling on the Burin Peninsula, Clarenville area, Bonavista Vista Peninsula, and it will continue into the early morning hours of Tuesday. This is by 8:30 now. The rain-snow line is moving back offshore. Temperatures are cooling down, as temperatures will climb to a couple of degrees above freezing or near freezing for areas that do see the rain. And it looks like by the afternoon, or by 11:30 in the morning, I should say, for the most part, the snow is winding down. So certainly some trickiness to work out in the forecast. And in my experience, when both models are showing something similar, the RGEM is usually right because it's a better model for Newfoundland and Labrador than the GFS model, because the model is run by Environment Canada and it's got a better handle, I think, most of the time on the weather here compared to some of the other American models. Not to say the American models are bad, I just think it's better sometimes. I think this is an instance where the RGEM is going to be better than the GFS. So I'll go with that as far as the snowfall amounts go. So let's take a look at those first. This is total snowfall by Tuesday evening, and you can see not a whole lot here. The yellow, 15 to 20 centimeters. So some places across the Avalon Peninsula and the Burin Peninsula may see 15 or 20 centimeters. I think amounts are probably going to be a bit closer to 15 or 10 because the snow is going to be wet this go-around, especially initially, and during the, peak snow, it probably is going to remain fairly wet. And with the mixing issues. So, not certain the Burin Peninsula is going to see as much as the model is forecasting, but I think 5, 10, 15 centimeters in spots is a good possibility, especially across the northern part of the Burin Peninsula. Here's that darker stripe, 10 to 15 centimeters across much of the Avalon, back across the south coast, and touching the top of Nova Scotia. The model is also showing some bullseyes across the northern Avalon. I think areas that may remain all snow could see 15 or 20 centimeters, certainly not out of the realm of possibility. In fact, there's one American model that is forecasting very little, if any, snowfall in St. John's, or rainfall, I should say, in St. John's, keeping that rain-snow line a little bit farther south. But it's all going to depend on the track of the low. So that's something we'll have to sort of keep a close eye on, as a little wobble here or there could mean the difference between 10 centimeters, 5 centimeters, or 15 centimeters of snow. And areas that do see rain, doesn't look like a whole lot. Looks like 5 to 10 millimeters. That will about do it, perhaps a bit more along the southern shore of the Avalon, up to 15 maybe. But it looks like for the most part it's going to be a bit of a fight for the Burin and southern Avalon peninsulas between rain and snow. And so that will certainly, I don't want to say cut down in amounts, but it will cut down in amounts, because if it was all snow, we would see more. And since it's sort of a rain-snow mix, the snow ratios are going to be fairly low, so it's not going to be that fluffy snow. It'll be very wet and very heavy. So certainly some trickiness to work out with this incoming system, but basically to take away from it, looks like much of the south coast, Burin Peninsula, Avalon Peninsula, and Bonavista Peninsulas we'll see 5 to, we'll call it 15 centimeters of snow, more for the Burin Peninsula, more for the south coast. Looks like probably as much as 10 on the Burin Peninsula, and on the Avalon Peninsula, probably some places will certainly see up to 15. I'm just not sure where that is exactly going to be. And if the rain-snow line comes even farther north, then snow amounts are going to be even less. Either way, though, 15 centimeters is going to be the max anybody sees, so this is not going to be a big storm. There shouldn't be a whole lot of wind with it. I guess the downside is it's going to be a little bit hard to shovel compared to the last couple of snowfalls that we've had. So anyway, hope that gives you a better indication of what we can expect as we go into Monday and Tuesday with our incoming weather system. I'll see you tomorrow night in the NTV Evening News Hour, starting at 5:30, with Tony Murray Wiseman on First Edition, actually, and on NTV between 6 and 7 o'clock. Have a great night.